Over the lockdown period, I've been speaking to many singers and entertainers and performers who are at home, the same as the rest of us, and catching up and seeing how life is. I've got a gentleman now, incredibly popular he is, and incredibly successful indeed, not alone as a recording artist, but also a live recording artist from his home in Donegal, Eddie Gallagher. Eddie, great to join you.
It's great to join you, Jerry. Good evening to you all over there in that part of the UK, and I hope you are all keeping safe and well.
You're needless to say, you're not exactly at your busiest at the moment, Eddie.
Well, definitely not. The kind of times is in it. We're in lockdown here as well, and trying to stay safe. And the lockdown is it's going to continue for another few weeks yet, anyway.
Indeed so. Now you were a busy man. You were actually, the interesting thing was you were actually off for a period of time with some medical issues just before the lockdown.
That's right, Jerry. I'll tell you, I was really busy, and I ran into a few complications with the throat, and I kind of knew it was there for a while. So I decided to go and see a specialist. So I went to see a specialist in December, and I had surgery on the throat on the 16th of January. Passed there, and I got a lump removed from the throat, and thank God everything's okay. But it's taken a little bit longer than I thought. But there was no singing really. For a long time, and there still is no singing, I suppose,
yes,
in a way. But trying to get back into it and trying to write some stuff now while I'm off, and keeping myself busy that way, you know.
Indeed. Now you wrote and you released a single, Donegal. Yeah,
the song called Donegal, You Are My County. That song actually was recorded almost a year ago.
Wow, right.
Yeah, I wrote that song over a year ago, so I recorded it then maybe last June or July, I think. I recorded it in with Joe McNamee in Dungiven, who has a fantastic studio there as well. And I didn't release the song then until, I think it was February, maybe, was it? Yeah, sometime like that.
Think about that, yes. And it's gone down very, very well. Now, you've done some other compositions as well, which have gone an absolute storm. My Derry Maiden and Goodbye to New York City.
The Derry Maiden and the New York City, both them songs were actually recorded in with Joe McNamee as well in Derry. And the Derry Maiden song, actually, how that came about was I was actually gigging in Derry one night, and I was driving out over the Foyle Bridge, and I just got this idea for a song. And I got the words into my head, and the next morning I says, right, I must write this all down, and I wrote it all down, and I went into Joe and recorded the song. And the New York City song that you're talking about, that song, I wrote that song about 5 years ago.
Right.
And I was never going to record it, and I decided, I says, no, maybe it's not strong enough material for me, you know. And I did let one or two people hear it, and they thought, it might be okay. But then I let Joe hear it in the studio one day, and we completely revamped it slightly, and it came out a treat, to be honest. Then I was so delighted with it then.
It is. I mean, it's hard to believe that you didn't think it was strong enough, because it really is a cracking song, as strong as anything, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I can't believe it. Since I recorded it, a lot of people have come up to me and said, like, it's a top quality song and they love it. And actually, one or two other artists have mentioned to me now that they were thinking about recording it, so we'll see how that pans out.
Indeed. Now, you've of all the albums you've released, they've all been incredibly successful for you.
Oh, they have, yeah. Well, I mean, the first album I released was many years ago, you know, and then I think it was called Country and Home, and then there was the Ireland to Chicago album. But the big album for me, and the big song for me, was The Harvest Moon.
Right.
I mean, that was a good friend of mine, and you probably know him very well, Jerry, and many of your listeners will know him very well, a fellow called Hugh McLean.
Yes, I do, yes.
And Hugh had that recorded many years ago, but I was looking for the words of it because I had an old recording of the John Donovan version, but I just the words weren't clear in those recordings those days, if you know what I mean. But Hugh left me up a CD with that song on it, and it's a funny story because we were going for a drive one Sunday afternoon, and the wife says to me, "That song's very old. You're not thinking about recording that, are you?" And I says, "Well, I might, because I could do a different version of it and maybe do my own style on it."
Right.
And I recorded the Harvest Moon, and when she heard it, she says, "Eddie, that's brilliant." And that Harvest Moon was on every radio station over here, and it sold, I don't know, many CDs for me. That Harvest Moon was unbelievable. Indeed. And that still is probably one of my biggest selling CDs. It was a 10-track or a 12-track at the time, I can't remember, but that was one of my biggest selling CDs individually before I got to Irish music, you know.
Right, yeah, so 10 tracks, Eddie, on it.
10 tracks, was it?
10,
yeah,
yes.
It's that long ago now, I forget myself.
Right. It just goes to show. Now, not alone that, not alone do you do all the recording and the songwriting and everything else, but you were very much in demand and very busy doing live shows, mainly social dancing, wasn't it?
Social dancing, yeah, was the big thing. Well, at the time I recorded the Harvest Moon, actually, I wasn't probably doing the social dancing as much that time, but then I did see a market for it because I knew one or two bands were sort of going out at the scene at that time, and I would always get phone calls, "Could I do a gig tonight? Could I do?" And I said, "No, I'm busy, I'm booked." But then, you know, as time went on, I realised there's a market here for this social dancing. There's a big thing in it, and I just eventually ended up heading all over the country, and even heading over to the UK, you know, and heading over to Scotland, and we even done the Irish Festival in Chicago a few years ago. So I've been really busy since it kicked off on the social dancing thing, you know.
Certainly did, and it's quite amazing. I've been speaking to so many people about it, but it's quite amazing all of the social dancing which was taking place up and down the entire length and breadth of Ireland, and it all just suddenly came to a crashing stop.
Yeah, I mean, that was so disappointing, you know, but at the same time, I suppose so understanding as well, the kind of dangers in it. But the social dancing scene here was massive. I mean, from Cork to Donegal, everywhere, maybe on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7 days a week, there was always some venue that was running social dancing, and bands were really, really busy at it, and people were going out and enjoying themselves and really enjoying the dancing.
Indeed.
But unfortunately, it's one of those things, as you said, it comes to a stop, and that's disappointing, I suppose, from a band point of view, number one, and I suppose from a social point of view, it's a very, very big loss to everyone, you know.
Indeed so. It was part of everybody who went out to the social dancing. It was a part of such a major part of their lives.
Major part of their lives, and I suppose from whatever aspect of music you look from, whatever genre you are, music is the biggest thing that brings people together, and it's the biggest thing that keeps people's minds and mental attitude positive as well, because I think music has a lot to do with that, and getting out and listening to music and getting out and dancing to music. So I think that's just a loss at the minute to everyone, you know.
Indeed so. But all we can do, Eddie, unfortunately it's a needs must do at this situation. But fingers crossed for us all. Fingers crossed for the health of everyone, and that we shall be out and about again as soon as the whole situation is sorted out.
Yeah, no doubt we will be, and I suppose I would like to say a special thank you, if you don't mind, Jerry. And I know my own wife is involved in the frontline healthcare workers at the minute, and they are doing a fantastic job. And to everyone who is helping everyone out in every way, you know, I suppose I think I can speak for everyone and saying a big thank you from everyone to all who are doing great work out there at the moment. And you know, it's a very, very tough job and a very challenging job, but listen, as I said, I would like to say a big thank you on behalf of everyone, I'm sure, for what they're doing.
Indeed so. Truly, true heroes doing it every day and doing very, very difficult. And indeed, well done to your wife and all the rest of the crew as well. Eddie, listen, it's been lovely to catch up with you, lovely to speak to you. And listen, as they say, stay safe and well.
Yeah, and you too. And anyone wants to catch up with me, if they just keep an eye on my Facebook page, Eddie Gallagher. I might be doing wee live shows now and again, so if they want to tune in and just give me a wee like or something, just to let me know that they're there. And, when this is all over, we'll have one hell of a party, Jerry.
Exactly. Eddie, listen, take care. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, and stay safe over there. Thank you.